was a typo, and I'm like, welcome to Under Two Capes. I'm Jared. I'm here with Robert. What's up, dude?
Yo, what up?
And Nyx is making her epic return to Comics League. Welcome back, Nyx.
Howdy.
It's been a long time.
Yep.
All right. So what we're talking about here, and what's up, Corey? So we're talking about, and what's up, that guy? So we're talking about pre-crisis Superman, because there's a movement on Twitter of people that apparently don't like the Kents, which I'm like, I don't know why you wouldn't like that, and two,
Don't like Superman being American.
Well, yeah, but it's also the idea that, okay, so because they want to go back to the super ridiculously powered up Superman that could shoot tiny Supermen out of his fingertips. What? Like,
yep.
or how about the one that could pull a solar system on a chain? But anyway, so next, where do you stand real quick on the idea of like overpowered Superman?
I mean, in certain stories, I think it can work. I'm not overly fond of it. I like Superman to be powerful, yeah. This whole thing is like he's like one of the strongest, but like I don't think he should be so powerful that they're like going back to the Silver Age where we're just making up powers on the fly. Like, oh, I can do this actually too, so it's okay.
I can create a force field by super sneezing.
Yep. Now, some powers like super ventriloquism. All right, that's fine.
Super ventriloquism.
Well, throwing his voice and everything. That's fine. But yeah, and some of the powers.
Hi, I'm Lois Lane. I suck. Only kidding. That's my super ventriloquism. But the thing about it is like.
Okay, here's one thing we should point out.
Yeah.
Okay, we're not saying Silver Age is bad. Pre-crisis is bad.
It served a purpose.
It gave a lot of foundation and everything. But here's the thing I think a lot of these people don't get. And here's what I think. All of Silver Age Superman is comparable to manga in general, because in that there's a lot more out there than you think, but everyone focuses on the mainstream stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
You get what I mean? You get what I mean
exactly.
by that? Yeah, basically, what people think represents the Silver Age, it's just the good stuff that floated to the top.
Yeah, exactly. For the purpose of this discussion, we're talking Superman from 1938 all the way until Crisis on Infinite Earth.
Golden, Silver, and Bronze Age.
Yeah, just that way there's no confusion over what we're covering. Now, here's the thing. This all centers around a central issue with the comic book Twitter fandom. They think that just because something works in the comics, that it will translate well to the movies. And I can tell you right now that is objectively false. That's not going to work.
And here's something else we should point out. If all that what they said was true, then why are so many writers who love the Silver Age, Mark Waid, Grant Morrison, and so many others, and why do they keep modernizing it?
Yeah, exactly.
Why do they keep modernizing the Silver Age?
Yeah, exactly. But now, there are things that you can take from the Silver Age and bring them into the modern age. Writers have been doing that forever. Just what you need to do is you can't just take it pure and put it there.
Oh, yeah, pure. No. Like, okay, here's some of the things that are definitive of pre-crisis. One, with the exception of his time in Superboy, Clark Kent doesn't really exist. Can we agree to that?
Yeah.
Clark Kent does not truly exist in pre-crisis. They started to fix it out a little in Bronze Age, but for the majority of it, he was a disguise. He was Kal-El the whole time.
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
Pa only brought up in Superboy, or that they were dead in the present day. Otherwise, it was always, I worship at my Kryptonian parents' feet. Those people who raised me from Kansas, who cares?
Yeah, exactly. Now on the Kents, here's the thing. And Nyx, what role do you think the Kents really play in Superman's development? I want to start with you.
Yeah.
Well, they're like his parents from Krypton. Yeah, they're important, but the Kents raised him.
Yeah.
They are his main family. They're his link to humanity, and they're the center of his morality.
So
everything
you're telling
that
me
he is as Clark Kent and Superman comes from them.
Yeah,
you're telling me Lois is not the central point of his humanity. Central, Robert, central. I said
all right. Yes. Central, yes.
That's the thing. Because, like, is she part of it? Yes, I'll conceive that. But she's not. It's not like an injustice if you kill someone. Lois, all of a sudden he turns into a dictator.
Yep. Oh, and by the way, the answer to NJ, nope. There was no enhancements because back then they didn't care about explaining why their powers got overblown.
No, it was because, remember, here's what people have to remember. Robert, who was the audience for comics back then?
Kids.
Exactly.
And back then it was a case of kids don't care. In fact, they will age out in 5 years.
Oh, yeah. And we all know kids are stupid. I'm only kidding. But by the way,
kids
real
are more
quick.
able to, like,
Roll with it.
They have the benefit. They don't care about the benefit of that. They're just like, oh, Superman can do this now? Okay, sure, why not?
Well, here's the other thing. It's like too many people are like, well, it's comic books. We have to have a little room for that type of stuff. And I go, yeah, I get it. But here's the thing. If you want, this is a point that I made a long time ago that I think is very cogent. The thing is, now that like comic books are relatively mainstream compared to the way they used to be, I think it's because back then people started to feel like they were in a secret club. And I really think some fans want to go back to that because guess what? It's like, because it's like they don't feel special anymore. Hence why they're essentially trying to like gatekeep all the people out by saying, oh, it doesn't matter if it's easy to explain. It doesn't matter if it's logical that all the stuff would happen. Because it's comic books, you can't have logic. And I go, I'm sorry, that's not the way storytelling works. You need logic for the way your story works.
Nowadays.
In that case, here's the thing. By their logic, I could have Superman be vulnerable to kryptonite in one story, and the next one, no.
Yep. Now, here's the other downside, and I think these people don't really get. First of all, can we also agree this? Most of these people saying this never grew up. It's not as unlike someone like you and you, Jared, who you could say you got in with New 52, which is believable. Yeah. These people, the only thing they ever got in was the trade collection that again showed the best parts.
Yeah, is DC gonna all of a sudden like print trades of like all their crap stories?
Nope. I mean,
that'd be hilarious. They're like, here's a prestige edition of Amazon's Attack.
How is this? Most of the stories people have seen are like the top. I'll be generous, 10%.
Yeah, I would say
that's being generous. That's being generous. At most, the top 10% of the pre-credit stuff is what we've seen. That and all that stuff. And now here's something other people don't realize: did a lot of ideas come out from that Silver Age? Yeah. Yes. But that was from, let's throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks in rapid fire.
Yeah, exactly.
And it wasn't until Mark Weisinger was pulled, I believe it was him, being pulled off and replaced with Julia Schwartz, that it got under control.
Because, Nix, remember the Comet, the super horse, or the super
Beppo, the super monkey.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't want to remember Comet.
Yeah, exactly. But Nix, so remember in Superman and Lois, the journalist that was assisting Lois at the newspaper in Smallville, so her name is Beppo because apparently that's how they got in a reference to the super chimp.
Oh,
that's who that character is. And I learned that, and I'm like, oh, there's no way. But yeah, it's like, look, here's the thing. And again, I want to stress this because I know people are going to take this out of proportions. Are we bashing the Silver Age and saying it sucks? No, absolutely not.
No.
Without pre-crisis, you wouldn't. It's like any era is going to have problems. No era is perfect, except, of course, the new 52. I'm only kidding. No era is perfect. But it's like, look, you can't expect this one era to be the be all end all for stuff. Because if DC had stuck to that, because people don't remember is that what led to Crisis, DC was really, think about it this way. This was essentially what happened with the new 52 before it happened. In other words, they needed to like revitalize the comic line. So they're like, Reboot.
Now, the only difference is New 52, they had to be like, we have to make it very clear, so we have to make it the hardest reboot we've ever done.
Except if you're Batman or Green Lantern.
But exactly. But which Batman and Green Lantern kind of survived, but even they were still affected with post-crisis. It was basically, if the book sold moderately well, they were less affected. If they were not selling well at all, they got the hard reboot. Now, to be fair, out of all of them, only 2 of them had their reboot take place in modern day. One, and I hate to say it, both of which caused some bit of continuity kerfuffles. Only one was even worse than the other.
Mm-hmm.
You know what shoe those were?
What?
Wonder Woman and Hawkman. Wonder Woman caused at least a little bit of continuity kerfuffle. Hawkman caused a bigger one.
Well, yeah, of course. Hawkman's always causing continuity.
No, that's when it started. That's when it started.
Really? That's
when it post-crisis. Post-crisis, he was the poster child of messed up continuity because, unfortunately, before they did Hawkworld, Hawkman, the Earth's 2 version of him were hanging around with the Justice League.
Mm-hmm. Hey, what's up, Kadar?
But then they started to do Hawkworld, but everything about Hawkworld was clearly set. Like, the thing is, it should have been set in the past, but for whatever reason, the editor decided, no, it's the present day. But it's like, but wait, but you already have Hawkman and Hawkgirl showing up with the Justice League. Who is this Hawkman? And then they later go through so much saying, oh, that's a fake. Those were fakes. But it's like, but that makes no sense. You get where I'm going with this, right?
Time travel.
What even that?
I had to. But yeah, it's like, it's because like the other thing is there was a belief, at least according to the DC documentary, that the continuity had gotten too confusing. Now, whether or not it actually was, because there are people that are like, no, it's not. But back then, it was perceived as such.
Because now, or the whole there's too many worlds. It's like, how many imaginary stories were there? Now, again, did they blow something out of proportion? In the long run, yes, but back then you could see why they weren't used to it, and people couldn't handle it. But here's the other thing people don't realize. Back then, with Krypton being so important, it soon actually became you had a shorter list of who didn't survive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, think about that a second. That was the shorter list.
Mm-hmm.
And even this, technically, Jorah and Lara are still alive if you go by pre-crisis.
Oh, wow.
But they're stuck in a kryptonite cover. Their pod turned to kryptonite, so there's no way for Superboy to get them out.
Yeah, exactly.
But so he said, might as well treat them as they're dead. But technically, they're still alive.
Yeah, exactly. But
Make that make sense.
I can't because DC's continuity at that time was a real mess.
Well, yeah, because who cares about continuity? That's what it was back then.
Yeah, exactly. Now, it's like, here's the thing. Now, going back to, like, let's talk about the Kens, because for some reason, it's like Nick, it's the weirdest thing. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, all these people are coming out of the woodwork, all of a sudden acting like the biggest pre-crisis fans, and then acting like the Kens should be killed as soon as he leaves Smallville. And I'm
Why
like,
do they hate the Kens so much?
I don't know.
And then, you know what? Here's part of the reason why. Because they represent America.
Or here's my theory. It could be that too, Robert. Don't get me wrong.
They bring it up so much.
My other theory is that they want Lois to be the primary thing that links him to humanity, and they know that as long as like the people that like raise him exist, that's what that leads to. At least to me, because I've seen people the other way. I've seen it the other way, Robert.
I'll say it, but majority of the people I've seen, it's because of how much they tied to the rah America, which again, these people are not taking into account. Late 80s, early 90s, that was Reagan America.
Wait, and Robert, what else was in pre-crisis that was kind of a big world event?
You mean, wait, you talking about post-crisis and Crisis on Infinite Earths? What?
No, pre-crisis. What was a big world event in the real world?
Oh, a World War II?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure patriotism was big back then.
Yep. By the way, Cameron, technically, the whole thing about Lana being close, that was a post-crisis thing. She was pretty much his lowest back then.
It's like, here's the thing. This is what I always tell people. Superman was raised human. As far as he knew, up until like he found out or like his power started.
That was post-crisis. That was post-crisis, yes.
Yeah, it's like he thought. And here's the other thing about the whole rah-rah American thing. It's not like Superman was created. The character was created in America.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. I'm about as patriotic as the next guy, hopefully.
And here's the other thing people don't realize.
Hang on. I'm about as patriotic as the next guy. And yes, do I think DC goes a little too far sometimes, like with Rebirth? The problem is when you start to ignore the like American roots of Superman with like getting rid of truth, justice, the American way, which I got news for you. People oversimplified that. All that is, he's standing for the principles that the country's supposed to stand for. It doesn't matter that they may not stand for it now. That's what truth, justice, American way means. It's just people that don't read comics thought that. Go ahead, Robert.
Yep, as I was going to say, but here's something else people don't realize. And people like to say, oh, he's an illegal immigrant and all that. No, the Kents adopted him. Or things played out where they compose him as their son or something.
Yeah, exactly. So either way, And by the way, NJ asks, are the Kents religious? Yeah.
Okay, you and I have gone over this. They are, but they didn't push it on Clark. They let Clark make his own decision.
Yeah, and by Cameron, in many ways, Super Captain America.
Yeah, he's what America and humanity should be.
Yeah.
But here's the other thing. This goes back to the other argument these people have. They just do not. If anyone says anything bad about Krypton, they hate it.
Because here's the thing. So, Nix, let me see if you can put this together. All right. So with Krypton, how do we know that Krypton was not necessarily a great place?
Yeah, fair enough.
No, how do we know that?
We don't really ever get anything on Krypton. It blew up before.
Exactly. Why? Because no matter how perfect it was, the Science Council still ruled everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, I'd like to say, too, as a Canadian, I honestly never have seen a problem with truth, justice, and the American way.
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I grew up with it. That's his catchphrase.
Mm-hmm. And that came out during World War II.
And here's the other thing. It's not like he says it every issue. That's the other thing. He rarely says it. And again, you get what it's representing.
Oh, yeah.
It's the ideals in the Constitution.
But when it comes to these people that they overly praise, like how dare they demonize Krypton? It's like I said, one of the big problems they were trying to rectify, pre-crisis Superman, like I said, he was Kal-El. Mm-hmm. He was always Kal-El.
Yeah, exactly. It was all it's because here's the thing. Pre-crisis, they went too far in the Krypton side. Post-crisis, you can argue, at least at first, they went too far in the human side. So both of those were like overcorrections in either way. No, the American way makes them less the global hero, right? Because the American way, the values that are represented by the American way are only American values, right, NJ? Is that the way it works? I'm pretty sure those values that it's supposed to represent, like human decency. Now, again, I'm not saying America always represents that. I'm saying that's what the ideas basically are, right? Because those only apply to America. It doesn't make him less of a global hero, NJ.
Yeah, and
like KHL says, back in my day, Superman used to make little puppy dogs from his heat vision to make infinite ice cream with a clap. Yeah, I think what he's talking about is like, so Nix, did you know that Superman could shoot tiny Superman out of his fingers?
I have vague recollection of that.
Or if he sneezed, he could blow up a universe.
Or at least a solar system.
Or anyone remember the time he had a sword?
Yeah, exactly. Or like if he was exposed to red kryptonite, it would give him a lion's head or like an
An
ant's head.
ant's head.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. I'm
Oh,
like,
good old red kryptonite. The one thing that didn't do the same thing twice.
yeah, it's the funny part about this.
Or a big head.
I was wondering, what were you guys like? And
Oh.
the reason that Superman film did poorly overseas, a lot of American films are doing poorly overseas because here's the thing: if it were purely dependent upon American way, if that was the reason why it didn't do well overseas, first off, he doesn't say American way in the movie; it's not in any of the ads, and second off, Fantastic Four did just as badly overseas.
And it was not as rah-rah America.
It's not America. It's not rah-rah America at all. If anything, it's more like global cooperation.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the point there. But it's like, that's the funny part. When you actually do like research into pre-crisis Superman's powers, much like pre-crisis Batman, it's basically the plot device. What does he need? And essentially, pre-crisis Superman was Adam West Batman.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of which, a lot of people like to say, "Oh, Batman didn't get rebooted." A lot of people would say that, so like Batman didn't reboot and get rid of it. They didn't make a big deal about it, but there was an edict. People forget. But one of the things people forget: between post-crisis up until after Infinite Crisis, 1 year later, there was an edict. You could never anything before Danny O'Neill's stuff in the 70s was broad stroked or never allowed to be touched at all. And now what you know, it was a big deal when Grant said he was going to bring back the goofy stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Now
people forget that.
Hang on, Robert. Did Grant just copy paste from the Silver Age? What did he do?
He modernized it, recontextualized it. Like some of the stuff that was way too out there to explain it. It tied back into Robin dies at dawn when Batman was in this little chamber that made him hallucinate.
Like Nix, it's literally most of the pre-crisis BS with Batman essentially was an acid trip for Batman.
Or what's it called when you're kept in a room for so long and you hallucinate then?
Hallucination. I'm like, honestly, that's not a bad way to explain all this BS. With that, I mean, this wasn't the run where they established that Batman created a backup operating system for his mind called Zur-En-Arr, so that actually does work.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, the Zur-En-Arr became its own separate. Again, Grant took Zur-En-Arr and made it be that backup thing when originally it was Batman from another Earth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. But it's like that's the way you do it. Because here's the thing: even if you take modern stuff from the modern comics, you're gonna and move it into a movie or even animation, you're gonna have to change things because again, not everything is gonna transfer well.
No, not at all.
Now, I think people got like too overly zealous with James Gunn obviously taking a lot of inspiration from the Silver Age. He clearly did, but what people are forgetting, he very much modernized it.
Yep.
That's the other thing. Well, first off, if Gunn was purely Silver Age Superman, no one should have been able to even harm Superman in that movie. Let's face it.
Definitely.
But it's like, that's the point there. I'm just like, it's very odd, this weird attachment that people have to Silver. And it's like what Sam Liu said when he came on my channel. He goes, yeah, people are like married to the era of DC that they came into comics with. But it's like, Robert, how old are a lot of these people, do you think?
20s, 30s, of being generous.
Or like teenagers. And I'm pretty sure they weren't around. And
again, okay, can I give you a couple examples of the crap we got in Silver Age? Lois making herself black. Just to try and be like, well, if you don't marry me, you're being racist. Or all of Jimmy's transformations, Turtle Boy and all that stuff. Superman even telling Supergirl, you know what? If I was a woman I want to marry, it'd be you, but we're cousins. And that was illegal on Krypton. There might be legal here, but we got to honor Krypton's laws.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I'm reminded of one Superman's girlfriend Lois Lane comic where she went back in time to Krypton to get with Jor-El, And then when she's escaping back to Earth to present day, she forcibly kisses toddler Clark or Cal.
What?
And I'm like, yeah, that's
Wait. To make sure I understand this, Lois kisses toddler Clark.
Yeah. Well, she tried to move in on Jor-El, but when that wasn't working, while she was escaping through the time, like
again, these people don't. They got again back then. It's all about what told a story to entertain kids.
Yeah, let's never forget B-Boy.
Yep, but tell these people that, or how about this? There was a story where Superman and everyone in Smallville became fat.
There was a lot of fat stories in the Silver Age.
Yeah, but that was that one in particular.
Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there was a story where Wonder Woman got turned into a chimp.
Again,
that whole Wonder Woman era of mod Wonder Woman, that was the Silver Age. That was.
Yeah. Or get this: the story where Superman went back in time to Krypton for the first time that Jerry Siegel wrote. You want to know what led to him going back in time? He was chasing a sentient, planet-sized alien that was moving so fast that he didn't realize he went back in time until he was done chasing it.
Not only that. So, Nix, I'm going to describe to you a conversation that happens in a pre-crisis Superman story. Are you ready? Robert knows what I'm about to mention.
Mm-hmm.
Let me finish this, Robert. So, Superman is talking to Kara. Now,
I mentioned that earlier. Just a few minutes ago.
You got the whole story?
Yeah, I said that. I said,
all right.
If I was to marry someone, it'd be you.
Essentially, he said, if you weren't my cousin, I would bang you. That's essentially what Superman said to his cousin.
And Beard played up on when he had Linda go back.
That is why I'm like, no, do not tell me that this was all a perfect era. No.
I think a lot of people have this sort of
romanticization,
these rose-tinted glasses for the Silver Age, because they see it and they just think it's goofy fun. Or also, Batman and Brave and the Bold came out, and a lot of people who are reading comics nowadays or got into comics in more recent areas probably did watch it. I watched it growing up. And it does a really great job of trying to sort of modernize while sticking to the era's goofiness.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But I also went back and I actually did read those old Silver Age comics, and not all of them, I'd say maybe a good 80% of them do not hold up very well.
That's why I said to be generous. I'd say 10%, only 10% hold up.
Yeah, probably. All of the ways it was essentially the clickbaiting of comic book era.
Where how most of it was? Oh, sorry.
Was where they'd have Superman do something really out of Superman's character, just being an absolute jerk to his loved ones.
Super dickery.
And then you go in and you read the comic and he's hypnotized, or it's someone disguised as Superman, or oh no, it is just actually Clark being a jerk.
Or there's a reason, he had to push Jimmy away because he would die.
By the way, yeah. Well, let me put it
Golden Age.
Pre-crisis was it technically yes. So pre-crisis, yes.
But it was more Golden Age that was heavier with the bondage when Marsden was doing it.
Yeah, exactly. And everyone's like, Marsden was a feminist icon. Really?
It was his idea of feminism back in the day. I actually do really enjoy reading Golden Age Wonder Woman comics, because she is so sassy and she just has no patience for anyone's nonsense at all.
Right. My favorite sassy Wonder Woman moment actually comes from the New 52. She's fighting Green Lantern, and she goes to Green Lantern and goes, "This has given me no pleasure," but I'm sure you've heard that before.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, speaking of Wonder Woman, we might as well talk about this. We'll talk more about it on CLD, but I wanted to get all three of you kind of on that. So people are spreading that Greg Rucka article where he basically blasts Jeff Johns and Dan DiDio. And so here's the thing, Nick. So context. Greg Rucka came out of nowhere and all of a sudden is like, oh, Jeff Johns and DiDio were super toxic with me when I was writing Wonder Woman. They Jeff Johns was incredibly manipulative to him, and I'm like, I thought you were friends, and B, you know what? Why he's coming out all of a sudden and saying this, Nix? His Cheetah book is flopping hard. You know it's bad when Trinity, the daughter of Wonder Woman, literally the worst Wonder Woman book short of the main Wonder Woman book, debuts significantly higher than that book.
Mm-hmm.
Like Trinity was like a debuted at like I think it was like 80 something. This debuted at 130 and like 20 something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, yeah, he's pissy about that, and then he tries to claim that like in Rebirth they were coming on their hands and knees trying to come to him, and I go, there was another Wonder Woman writer beforehand, brother. That's not you, bro. It's not you. You're lying.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just like, bro, why would you do that? And so Robert, I'll start with you. You're the Jeff Johns fan. What do you think of this?
I don't buy it.
Me neither.
I do not buy it whatsoever. Again, I'm looking at some of the stuff right there. It's saying how, oh, we were friends and all that, but he manipulated me against other people. I was mentally ill when I left in 2009. Wait, you mean back when you saw politics where actually you could be fair on both sides?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And it's just, yep, and yeah, and then he's saying like, oh yeah, the last time I was able, I'm looking at this, work with editors was when Good was in 2016. You want to know who was brought on as editorial during his time?
Who?
She's still on Wonder Woman today. I think no, he didn't bring her on. Never mind. I was thinking of someone else.
Mm-hmm.
My mistake. But still, though, it's like he wanted complete freedom and everything.
But it's like they're never going to do that because you don't own the character.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then NJ says, I enjoyed this series so far. You should check it out. Oh, I mean, it's on my pull list. I'm going to read it because I kind of like it, but maybe Cheetah doesn't have the PR like Joker or Lex does. She needs a good adaptation. Well, NJ, they're never going to adapt her short of being the villain. That's never going to happen.
Exactly. And I hate to say this, Lex and Joker have way more dynamics and interest for people to want to jump onto. Cheshire doesn't really.
You picked a character that you picked two characters that the majority of that's not a draw for the majority of comic book fans because you need someone other than Wonder Woman fans exclusively to show up. And guess what he didn't do?
He didn't pick the characters that they were picked for him.
Yeah, which I'm like, okay, fine, but it's like, but the very fact that you're acting out now trying to act like you had all these issues, why'd you wait so long to say anything? Particularly when Jeff and Didio haven't been at the company for years.
And I've realized something. When He Who Shall Not Be Named brought him back, that was because He Who Shall Not Be Named had this unlimited freedom from editorial interference.
Which we all know that turned out well. And by the way,
of course that's what brought him back.
And next, in case you're wondering who we're referring to, his name starts with a B.
A BMB.
He wrote Ultimate Spider-Man. I think you know who I'm talking about.
Huh?
Yeah, exactly. So
we'll just refer to him from now on as
as Voldemort. Yeah, exactly. But that's the issue there. And I'm like, again, it's like how this week has been the only thing I'm going to say about this week is that this week has been one for comic book professionals acting unprofessional.
Yep.
It is highly professional, especially since they aren't working at the company anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. His book is still coming out, though, but we're going to be saying all this.
Yeah, I know. And I'm like, you really think that's going to work, bro? You really think that's going to work?
And he's complaining about how, again, like how much freedom, and yet I guess he didn't get the right editor.
Yeah, it's like, listen, bro, you don't get to choose your editor. You have to operate under what's like available. That's the way I would think that someone as experienced as Rucker would know this.
Exactly.
But
you would think. Whatever. You would think.
But whatever. And I'm like, I tend to say, why are you naming people, particularly people that probably have friends at DC? I mean, Robert, who's one of the chief creatives at DC right now?
Jim Lee, who did, and what did he do a variant cover for?
Jeff Johns. I'm pretty sure they're best friends. So what do you think? How do you think Jim thinks of this?
Well, if he actually is paying attention, he'd probably be like, okay. I don't think he's going to say last time we're going to offer you anything, but it's going to be all like, dude, what the hell? You're upset. Are you upset because the sales aren't great? Grow up.
Yeah, this is what happens. You are not. My problem is when these entitled creators all of a sudden they deserve to have a successful series. Now, again, this series could be fantastic, which I think it is. But it's like that doesn't necessarily mean that like you deserve that you're gonna get massive sales.
Exactly.
I think some people just really need to get out of their own way because their ego is not doing them any favors.
Yeah, exactly, because that's not helping your cause.
And here's something else I would say: it might have helped if he actually hadn't. Now, I get it; he wanted to make Queen Country be graphic novel releases. Okay, but that didn't help keep your name out there.
Yeah, a lot of people that showed up were like, "Bro." They probably necessarily don't even remember who you are.
Yep. Or at the very least, been so long, and the last thing you did was the Lois Lane book.
Mm-hmm. Which, oh boy, that piece of work. And I'm not just saying that as someone that hates Lois. Robert doesn't like the book either.
Yep, because I didn't like how Lois was portrayed, and especially when I know he did a good Lois.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm like, what happened?
I mean, Jared, I showed you he did, right?
Yeah, exactly. The funniest part about it, Nix, is that when we did the April Fool's stream, Robert had to positively review that Lois Lane book. To see him like seething, and I swear I could see steam coming out of his ears at one point with his headphones. He turned red at one point. It was so hilarious.
Yeah.
Considering I think I had to did I have to do Amazon's Attack, or did someone have to do Amazon's Attack? I don't remember.
Not yet.
Oh boy.
I know. I remember Britt had to do the wedding special.
Britt, if you're watching this, you're doing Amazon's Attack. Anyway.
No. Remember, we have a worse thing for her.
Oh yeah. Nix, have you read the Superman Wonder Woman book by Chris Claremont?
Whom God destroyed. It was an Elseworlds.
I don't think so. No.
All right. So in this book, so the Nazis had taken over Themyscira, and Diana had become, remember, essentially Bruno from Dark Knight Returns?
Yeah. Oh, I remember.
That's basically who Diana turned into. And Lois became Wonder Woman.
What?
And then it ends with Superman being in a throuple relationship with Lois, Wonder Woman, and Lana.
Who became an oracle. Immortal. They're all immortals. Oh, and Superman became a centaur.
Oh, yeah. Superman became a centaur.
You can't see it, but I am very quizzical in my expression.
Trust me. How do you think we felt? As
soon as I read that series, I'm like half-horse Superman? No, this is stupid. What are you doing, Chris Claremont? I know you could write good stuff. Next time I see him at a con, I got to ask him, what was up with Who Gods Destroyed? I just gotta ask, because that is like weird.
So, what fever dream did that come out of?
Yeah, that's what I want to know. I'm like, is this a James Cameron was like in a fever dream, and that's how we got like Terminator, or what happened here?
Yeah, exactly.
It's really, really odd there, but all together with everything we talked about, it's like, look, again, you can have a preference for a particular era of DC. We're not saying don't do that. Don't act like that's the be-all, end-all era for DC.
Yeah. Can we get back to Krypton for a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, because again, I want to get back to that. The whole issue people are having. Okay, did post-crisis kind of make it be they were cold and sterile and, oh, that's not who they are? Well, yeah, but that was done so you wouldn't feel bad when it blew up. And two, because it made Jor-El stand out.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, was it done? But it's like, but was it done? And one thing that really gets to me is when people are saying, oh, when you're talking about Earth, you mean America. It's like, oh, shut up. The Kents are the best of humanity. Not the best of them. They are the best of America, but they are not made to represent America. They're made to represent humanity. Can we agree to that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they were made to represent.
That's how he got his values.
Exactly. So, but when these people, they think, oh, because they're that's why when I showed an example of it, they said, give us a good story. I show Krypton Man. They have the Krypton Man where Superman became more Kryptonian, but a cold and forced to be cold and all that stuff. People are like, oh, this was about, and the Kents were trying to say, screw Krypton, America is great. And it's like, no, it's about Earth is great.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing. All Pre-Crisis did was give us a lot of material to work with. Let's be honest. Post-Crisis is what made it, I'm not going to say mainstream because that kind of comes off wrong, but it's what modernized and matured all the Pre-Crisis kiddie stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And we agreed. And they were already on their way there with the Bronze Age.
Mm-hmm.
The Bronze Age was already on their way there. It was just too little, too late, so they were like, we got to make it harder.
Yeah, exactly.
And here's the other thing people complain about. It's like, you do realize as it went on, they started to reintroduce some stuff. And then it got to a point where a lot of stuff from that cold stuff of Krypton actually gave us Doomsday.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you see Silver Age or Pre-Crisis Krypton ever even being willing to make something like Doomsday or giving us someone like Zod?
Which you'd think they would be, at least with Doomsday, because they were very scientific and doing all sorts of really kooky stuff.
But they were it was a utopia, Jared, remember?
Yeah, and by Cameron says comic book Twitter also has this weird thing where they think Kansas is the backdrop of America. I hope that made sense. Yeah. I think what he's referring to is what we talked about before about how the Kents represent America.
Okay, and yes, Cameron, yes, we had Jax Ur, yes. But when we look at Jax Ur, there was no connection about how he was with the overall Krypton. He was just an evil Kryptonian. But we wouldn't have gotten a Zod that was so in-depth with the lore.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? We wouldn't.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Back then, you did that be if someone was evil, they were just evil Kryptonian. Boom, no other explanation given.
Yeah, exactly.
Can I just say?
Yeah.
Oh.
Go ahead, next.
I was just gonna say, I think honestly, one of my favorite things, and I know this is like not very popular with a lot of people, but I love when the comics have Ma Kent be the one who made Clark's costume.
That was a post-crisis thing, and here's the thing: people also got to realize that costume was all Earth. There was no the S symbol was not Kryptonian or anything like that. And here's something else. There's a lot of things people mistakenly contribute to Pre-Crisis that didn't come till much later. Jared, here's what I got to ask you. Do you know when the first time in the comics Superman had the AI in the fortress where he can talk to Jor-El?
Chris Reeves.
But do you know when in the comics?
Post-Crisis?
1 year later.
Oh, really?
When the Last Son story was the first time we had the AI Jor-El in the comics.
That's the one where Chris Kent goes up, right?
Yep.
Okay, now I know what you're talking about. That was the first.
Yeah, up until that point, you had different fortresses, but none of them had the AIs.
That's true. It never did show up.
Never. And yet people think like when people are saying, because here's let's get to something else. Superman in the Silver. If you were trying to take something more with Superman and you wanted to get rid of the Kent, you know what problem with that is? He has no one he can talk to.
Yeah, exactly.
Who does he have he can talk to if you want to tell more modern stories about him angsting? New 52 showed us that problem.
I mean, he has Diana at that point.
But before, no, remember, he didn't have Diana until issue 12 of Justice League.
Yeah, that's true.
You mean Clark doesn't keep a super journal that he could just angst into?
Dear Super Diary! That's what that is, yeah.
So when you take into that, and Lois, they did everything they could to keep Lois away.
Yeah, and that's why it was so awesome. I'm just kidding.
But you get what I'm saying though. The Kents, and that was one of the big things. Doomsday made a big difference about saying how the Kents are the reason why the Kents are to be alive are because you need someone for Superman for Clark. the real Clark, not the costume disguise, not Superman, but real Clark to go and talk to when he's doubting himself. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, he's going to internalize that doubt.
Yeah, exactly.
His parents have a lot of good old-fashioned Kansas folksy wisdom.
Yeah, pretty
exactly.
much. And that was the one thing people forget is that you had him, he can go there, and it wasn't just Superman. Matrix, Supergirl, and Connor benefited from the Kents.
Yeah,
exactly.
People forget that. That's the thing. These people don't take that into account about the stuff. And they think the Kents are meant to die.
Yeah, exactly. You can make that argument kind of about Jonathan Kent because he always gets the heart attack, at least he used to. But now it's like, but there was always Martha Kent there. Yeah.
Now, here's one thing. Are they needed as much in the current day with Superman Clark being a family man and all that stuff? Not as much. But when you're starting from the beginning, they were definitely needed.
Yeah, exactly. And we all know that Martha has always played a very vital role in Superman's life.
Why did you say that name?
So,
she played a lot bigger role than Martha in Bruce's life.
Actually, no, because remember, Martha and Thomas both led to the creation of Batman.
True. Hey, I was saying as a joke because of how long he knew, because Bruce only knew his Martha until he was 10.
Yeah, exactly.
Clark knew his until he was older.
Yeah, that's true. I'll give you that.
That's what I was going for.
This kind of brings up a point about Batman, though, that I've had, not really an issue, but it's something I've noticed. Whenever when Bruce starts to doubt himself or whatever, it's usually, my father's legacy. I want to know more about my father. And he never really talks about, not getting to spend that time with his mother.
That's why some writers try to do it. And say what you will about Gaiman, when he did Whatever Happened to the Cave Crusader, it was more about Martha.
Mm-hmm.
Which I applaud him for that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep, and Jeff Johns did that in Year One, in Earth One.
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah, exactly.
Martha was more important there. Again, some people have tried to do it, but yeah, it's always his father.
Yeah,
it's something I noticed watching, because I went back and rewatched a bit of the animated Batman from the 90s, and I was like, Bruce really wants to, and I get it, the son wants to know more about his father, but also it kind of makes his mother a non-entity in his life to some extent.
Yeah, here's what I think a lot of these people want. They want to have it be, as soon as Superman, let's just stick around with what happened post-crisis. At the very end, that's when Superman gained all that knowledge of Krypton and everything. I think these people are basically banking on Clark Kent is overwritten by Kal-El, and he's all like, I must continue to put to hold on to my Kryptonian values and replicate it somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Who really does that?
No, exactly.
Does that make sense? And I hate to say this. It wasn't a bit blunt, but when Byrne had Clark say, I know all this different stuff. I know all their culture, their religion, all this knowledge, and in the end, it's ultimately meaningless. He's not wrong. What's he going to do with all that knowledge?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Jared, let's say you found out you were adopted, and you're from a culture that got wiped out, and yet you found out about everything about them, but you found it out in your adulthood life. What would you do with that knowledge?
Well, here's the difference, Robert. I would not be like, I'm going to go hang out in my alien fortress all the time. That's basically a shrine to my fallen civilization. I'm like, but I'm like, he eventually did, though. So I'm like, if he really doesn't care about it, why is he using so many Kryptonian things?
But he did it at first, post-crisis.
No, I know at first. Why did he eventually do it?
Because
that's where it doesn't line up.
Now, I would say this. It's more of a case where then he started to embrace it as it went on, and he started to find out more about it as it went on from outside, being forced all that information into his head.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically, the way I see it is, and this was the one thing that post-crisis did very well. They slowly trickled in all the pre-crisis stuff reinvented.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I kind of
Right.
like this idea that once Clark is more comfortable with his Kryptonian heritage, he would try to incorporate at least some of it into his life, like traditions or holidays, and he'd have Diana and Bruce along for it because like they're his closest friends.
That's exactly what for the man who had everything started with.
Yeah.
There's a Kryptonian holiday they were celebrating.
Yeah, exactly.
But again, that's the thing. These people, they only know I'll say this. They may not be tourists in the traditional sense, but these are Silver Age tourists.
Yeah, exactly. They think everything is puppies and rainbows, considering the fact that they've read trades and go, why isn't DC like this? Or maybe they're just upset with the direction that DC is going in. That's fine. But and they want to go back to a more simple age. That's fine. I get it.
But you don't have to then start hating on and saying everything is Byrne's fault. Okay, say what you want. Byrne has a lot of bad takes and everything. But to put the blame on saying all post-crisis is Byrne's fault when he was only there for the first year. Here's a prime example. Jared, how did Byrne end his run? What was his big middle finger to the Superman writing team when he left?
I don't remember. You want to remind me?
Killing off the Phantom's owners.
Oh, yeah.
But what did Mike Carlin and Jerry Away decided when they were in that situation? What could they have done? They could have ignored it. But instead, they decided, no, we can't ignore this. Let's actually play up on it. Let us tell a story that plays off with Superman's guilt. And that's what they did. They took stories that played off of it. And did you know that eventually by Our World's at War, they eventually did give Superman back his old strength, but they did it in universe by saying, you've had mental blocks because you grew up on Earth.
That's interesting.
And Mongol is the one who got him to break it. That's how we got a significantly stronger but still restrained Superman during Our World's at War.
That works. I like that.
But yeah, that's the thing. That's what a lot of post-crisis was unlocking the pre-crisis stuff.
That works for me. But I think it's a good place to leave it. So this was quite an interesting one. In conclusion, you can like a certain era, but don't like bash another one and say this is horrible or Robert's favorite word, slop.
Oh,
I got you. I'm at you. And so next, where can we find you? And what have you got coming out? And by the way, it's a pleasure to have you back on.
It's a pleasure to be back on. I'm on X under Betty Girl Nix. I had a whole rebranding a while ago.
Sweet. And Robert, how about you, my friend?
Got links down below, and coming up this week, I'll be celebrating my 600th as we cover Watchmen.
Who watches the Watchmen, after all? Exactly. So, and then as for Comics League, CLD tomorrow, obviously. Movie night, we're talking about Wonder Woman. For Super Wonder, Brett and I are comparing Wonder Woman to Kratos. In Amazon Answers, I am talking about Amazon's Attack.
Rip.
Which one?
Thank you. No, the bad one. The bad one, Robert. So I will be pulling out my hair. Anyway, stay at work, everyone. Remember, Lois Lane is Lois Lame, and Steve Trevor, Steve Never. She belongs to General Zod. He belongs in a hydraulic press. Zoe is the Max About for life. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.